The Grand Council said it would be simple. Just round them up, they told us. Put them somewhere they can't hurt anyone, especially themselves. Hey, if I could go back in time, I would laugh directly in their smug faces. My name is Zorax Pell, Chief Security Officer of what was supposed to be Containment Zone 12, what the humans now call New Terra. And this is the story of how the most catastrophic miscalculation in galactic history unfolded under my watch. The humans are a primitive species, our scientists assured us, barely managed spaceflight, extremely volatile, dangerous to themselves and potentially others. That last part wasn't wrong, at least. We constructed what we believed was the perfect containment system. A beautiful green-blue planet, isolated in a remote arm of the galaxy. Class M atmosphere, compatible with human physiology. Natural resources abundant, but not immediately accessible without advanced technology. A gorgeous prison, really. One they wouldn't even know was a prison. They will be happier here, Commander Urquell said during the final briefing. Their own planet was dying anyway. We are practically saving them. The relocation process went smoothly. Transport ships collected approximately 1 million human specimens from their overcrowded world. A statistically valid sample size, according to our analysts. Enough genetic diversity to prevent inbreeding, but small enough to manage should they become problematic. We wiped their memories of the procedure, mostly, and deposited them on the surface with just enough tools to establish primitive settlements. The memory wipe was tricky business. Had to leave enough so they could function, communicate, maintain their cultural identity. Just remove the knowledge of where they came from, how they got here, and most importantly, who put them here. A living museum, Dr. Yalor, our chief xenosociologist, called it. We will observe them rebuilding their civilization from scratch. Fascinating data. We established 12 monitoring stations in synchronous orbit around the planet, invisible to primitive scans, naturally. My security team's job was simple: watch the humans, collect data, ensure they stayed contained, and prevent them from developing technology that might allow them to leave. This is where things started to go wrong. Severely, catastrophically wrong. Day 1 on the planet's surface. The humans were confused, as expected. Some panic, some tears. Then something unexpected happened. Within hours, not days, not weeks, hours, they began organizing. "Anyone have military experience?" shouted a tall female with red hair. At least 30 hands went up. Medical? Another 40. Engineering, construction, agriculture? More hands. Interesting adaptive response, noted Dr. Yalor. They are pooling their knowledge assets. By nightfall, they had constructed basic shelters. By the end of the first week, they had established a rudimentary government, complete with elected officials and a constitution. A constitution. In 7 days. Unexpected, but not concerning, Urquell said, waving away my reports. Let them play government. It makes no difference in their containment. 3 months in, they had functioning farms, educational systems, and were mining basic metals. 6 months, and they had electricity in their main settlement. They are progressing rather quickly, I told the Council during our first quarterly review. Discerning, given our mandate to keep them at pre-space flight technology levels. The High Counselor yawned. Actually yawned. They are clever tool users, Officer Pell. That's been noted in their file. But they have no access to advanced physics knowledge, no understanding of faster-than-light principles. They are contained. 1 year in, and I noticed something odd. The humans had established regular perimeter patrols around their settlements, armed guards watching the skies. They remember something, I told Urquell. The memory wipe wasn't complete. Possible, Dr. Yalor insisted. We conducted thorough scans. Any residual memories would be fragmentary at best. Dreams, perhaps. Nothing actionable. Then came what we now call the incident. One of our observation drones malfunctioned and crashed near their main settlement. Standard protocol dictated immediate retrieval, but a storm system prevented our collection team from reaching it before the humans did. I watched through our monitors as they brought the drone into a specially constructed building. A building I hadn't authorized detailed surveillance on because it appeared to be just another warehouse. It wasn't a warehouse. Get me interior visuals now. I ordered my team, but it was too late. The humans had discovered the drone and, more importantly, they had it intact. The red-haired leader, they called her President Talia Grant, stood over the drone, a curious expression on her face. Well, she said, not to anyone in particular. Looks like our landlords just dropped by to check on the tenants. She knew. Somehow she knew. We need to initiate containment protocol Omega, I told Urquell immediately. Confiscate all their technology and reset their civilization. Urquell shook his head. One drone doesn't compromise the operation, Officer Pell. They can't possibly understand its functioning. Let's observe how they respond. How they responded was to reverse engineer the entire blasted thing in under a month. Remarkable, Dr. Yowler said, watching them disassemble our quantum propulsion system. Their problem-solving capabilities exceed all projections. That's not remarkable, that's terrifying. I shouted, my voice cracking with stress. They are not supposed to have quantum technology for at least another 300 years. 6 months after finding the drone, the humans had replicated its propulsion system. 1 year after, they launched their first space vehicle. President Grant stood on a platform before the launch, addressing her people. Today marks the beginning of our liberation, she said. For too long we have been rats in a cage, observed and contained. No more. Today we take back our destiny. The council finally started taking my concerns seriously. How did this happen? The High Counselor demanded. How did they progress so rapidly? Because we made a fundamental error, I explained. We assumed they would have to rediscover everything from scratch. But these humans, they remembered. Not the specifics, but the principles, the concepts. They didn't need to reinvent physics, they already knew what was possible. They just needed to figure out how. That's not the only error, said Dr. Yowler quietly. We also failed to account for their response to perceived threat. Humans don't cower when cornered, they become more dangerous. 2 years after the drone incident, the humans had established a permanent base on their moon. 3 years, and they had mining operations on 2 nearby asteroids. And they were building something. Something big. It appears to be a defensive installation, reported my second-in-command, Officer Grell. They are constructing it in sections, then assembling it in orbit. A weapon? Asked Urquell, his complexion paling. No, I replied grimly. A fortress. The humans had taken the quantum technology from our drone and expanded upon it in ways our scientists hadn't even considered. They created energy shields that could repel our standard weaponry. They developed scanning systems that located and identified all 12 of our monitoring stations. And then President Grant made a transmission we all heard very clearly. And to the entities observing us, she broadcast on all frequencies. We know you are there. We know what you did. We have turned your prison into our fortress, and we are coming out. You have 2 options, speak with us as equals, or face the consequences of your actions. You have 48 hours to respond. The council panicked. Some wanted to obliterate the planet immediately. Others suggested negotiation. In the end, they decided on a show of force, a small battle fleet, to intimidate the humans back into submission. This is a terrible idea, I told them. You don't understand what we are dealing with. But they wouldn't listen. Our fleet arrived, 7 warships strong, a display of overwhelming technological superiority. Or so we thought. The human fortress opened fire, not on our warships but precisely at our monitoring stations. All 12 simultaneously destroyed. They are blind, shouted Commander Urquell. How did they target with such precision? The human fortress then deployed smaller vessels, hundreds of them, swarming our warships like insects. They shouldn't have been a threat individually, but collectively. Pull back, I ordered, Pull back now. 3 of our warships were disabled before they could retreat. Not destroyed, disabled. The humans could have destroyed them, but they chose not to. A message in itself. President Grant's face appeared on our communication screens. That was a warning, she said calmly. The next time we won't be so gentle. Now I believe it's time we had a conversation about our future relationship. The Council had no choice but to agree to negotiations. I was appointed chief negotiator, much to my dismay. Our first meeting was held on neutral territory, a space station hastily constructed between their planet and our nearest outpost. I arrived with a delegation of diplomats and scientists. The humans sent President Grant and 5 others. "Welcome, Officer Pell," Grant said as I entered the negotiation room. Or should I say, Chief Security Officer Pell of Containment Zone 12. "Yes, we have learned quite a bit about you." "How?" I asked, genuinely baffled. "How do you know any of this?" "The memory wipes should have." Grant laughed. "Your memory wipes were impressive technology. But humans have something you apparently didn't account for. We call it muscle memory. Our bodies remembered skills even when our minds couldn't access the knowledge. And some of us, well, some of us were more resistant than others." She gestured to a male human with dark skin and piercing eyes. "Dr. Jackson here was a quantum physicist before your abduction. His conscious mind forgot the equations, but his hands remembered how to write them." Fascinating, isn't it? I felt cold dread washing over me. "What do you want?" "First, recognition. We are not your specimens. We are not your prisoners. We are a sovereign species with rights." "And second?" I asked. Grant smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "Second, we want the location of Earth and all other human settlements you have established. We know we are not the only ones you have relocated. We want our people back." "The Council will never agree to that," I said automatically. "The Council doesn't appear to have much choice," Grant replied. "Your prison has become our fortress. And from here we can reach any part of your territory. You have had decades to study us. Surely you have realized by now that humans don't respond well to captivity." She leaned forward, those alien eyes boring into mine. "You thought you were creating a zoo, Officer Pell. Instead, you were training apex predators. And now we are loose." As I left that meeting, I knew the galaxy would never be the same. The humans weren't just escaping their prison, they were expanding from it, using our own technology against us, improving upon it in ways we never imagined. The Council still believes they can contain this situation. They think proper diplomacy and carefully worded treaties will keep humans controlled. But I know better. I have watched them too long. The same adaptability that let them turn a prison planet into a fortress will never be truly contained again. The humans have a saying I have come to appreciate: never corner something more dangerous than you. We cornered humanity. And now the hunt begins. The negotiations with President Grant left me shaken. Our delegation returned to Council space with demands no one was prepared to address. The High Council immediately classified my report, but rumors spread faster than official containment protocols. "Is it true?" asked Officer Grell when I returned to my quarters. "The humans threatened to attack our core systems?" I poured myself a glass of fermented Vex juice. My hands were still trembling. "Not exactly. They didn't need to make explicit threats. The implication was clear enough. What President Grant had actually said was much more disturbing. We don't want war, Officer Pell. But make no mistake, we will not remain caged. The fortress we built? That's just the prototype. Give us what we want, or the next one we build will be parked above your homeworld." The Council deliberated for 3 standard cycles. I was summoned to 17 different emergency sessions, repeating the same warnings to different officials who refused to accept reality. "You don't understand," I told the Defense Minister, Kartax Voom. "These humans, they don't think like us. When we are trapped, we look for escape. When they are trapped, They look for weapons. Surely they must realize we vastly outnumber them, Voom replied, his facial tentacles twitching with agitation. 1 million humans against our trillion-strong confederation? I laughed. Actually laughed in a defense minister's face. Career suicide under normal circumstances, but these were hardly normal times. Minister, they fabricated quantum shield technology from a crashed drone. They built a space fleet in 3 years. What do you think they will accomplish in 10? In 50? Do you really want to find out? The Council finally reached a decision. They would release information about Earth to the humans but maintain that it was the only human world we had interfered with. A convenient lie, one I knew wouldn't hold. I was appointed permanent ambassador to New Terra, a position nobody else wanted. My first official act was to deliver the Council's response to President Grant. Earth coordinates, I said, sliding the data crystal across the table. As requested. Grant didn't touch it. And the other settlements? There are no others, I lied, as instructed. She smiled, that predatory smile again. Officer Pell, remember when I told you some humans were more resistant to your memory procedures? Well, some of us remembered fragments. Specifically, fragments about containment zones 1 through 11. So, unless you numbered us arbitrarily. My silence was answer enough. We appreciate this first step, Grant said, finally taking the crystal. But understand something. Every lie extends this conflict. Every deception costs your people more. We will have our answers, Ambassador Pell. All of them. The data crystal contained more than just Earth's coordinates. It included recent scans showing what had become of their home world, an environmental catastrophe zone barely habitable in small pockets. The humans had indeed been killing their planet, just as our reports indicated. I thought perhaps this might temper their aggression toward us. I was wrong. Again, you expected gratitude, Dr. Jackson asked when I pointed out that relocation saved many humans from Earth's collapse. You kidnapped us from our dying world rather than offering help to save it. That's not benevolence, Ambassador. That's theft masked as rescue. 3 local months after our initial exchange, the humans launched their first long-range expedition, a fleet of 30 vessels, heading directly toward Earth. The Council panicked, naturally. They are going home, exclaimed Urquell during an emergency transmission. What if they find survivors? What if they rally more humans against us? Then perhaps, I suggested, my patience finally exhausted, you should have given them all the information they requested instead of dribbling out half-truths. The human expedition reached Earth in record time. Their quantum drive improvements had somehow reduced the journey from years to months. They established orbital stations around their ruined homeworld and began something unexpected, restoration projects. They are trying to heal their planet, Dr. Yalor observed, genuine admiration in his voice. Not colonize elsewhere. Not seek revenge. They are fixing what was broken. But that wasn't their only activity. Within a standard year, the humans had established outposts throughout their original solar system, mining operations on their Mars, research stations on several moons, and construction facilities building more ships, always more ships. The Council continued to withhold information about the other human containment zones. I continued to warn them this was a catastrophic mistake. And the humans continued to expand their sphere of influence, pushing outward from Earth and New Terra simultaneously. We have detected unusual energy signatures near Containment Zone 8, reported Officer Grell. Similar to human quantum shield technology, but more advanced. I didn't need to be told what this meant. They found another prison, didn't they? Yes, sir. And they have made contact with the humans there. Containment Zone 8 held approximately 1.2 million humans, taken from Earth 3 decades before the New Terra group. They had been given even fewer resources, placed on a harsher world. The theory was to observe how humans adapted to different stress conditions. The answer, it turned out, was remarkably well, and with extreme prejudice toward their captors. President Grant requested my presence at their command center, a gesture of, not quite friendship, but professional courtesy. I'd become the devil they knew. Ambassador Pell, she greeted me, gesturing toward a large strategic display. I thought you might want to witness this historic moment firsthand. The display showed a massive space station, not human design, but Confederation architecture. Specifically, the regional headquarters for the Outer Quadrant Oversight Commission, located just 2 systems away from Containment Zone 8. "What are you planning?" I asked, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. "Justice," replied Grant. "Or perhaps just a simple object lesson." On the display, hundreds of small craft appeared, surrounding the station. Human vessels, but not from New Terra. These were cruder, retrofitted from mining equipment. Zone 8 humans hadn't had the benefit of a crashed drone with quantum technology. They'd done it the hard way. "President Vaughn of Liberation Point sends his regards," said a communications officer, patching through a transmission. A harsh-looking human male appeared on screen. Scarred face, white hair cropped military short. "This is President Vaughn to Confederation Station Alpha 9. Your security forces have 30 minutes to evacuate. After that, we take possession. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force." I watched in horror as the Confederation security fleet scrambled to defend the station, and 60 warships against hundreds of retrofitted human mining vessels. It should have been no contest. It wasn't, but not in the way anyone expected. The human ships didn't attack with weapons. Instead, they attached themselves to our vessels, breached the hulls, and boarded them. Hand-to-hand combat. Confederation crews surrendered in droves. "The station is secure," reported President Vaughn 2 hours later. "No casualties on either side. Confederation personnel have been detained humanely." Grant turned to me, her expression unreadable. "Your people vastly underestimated our capacity for coordination, Ambassador. Did you truly believe keeping us separated would prevent us from finding each other? From working together once we did? The Council will see this as an act of war," I warned. "The Council created this war the moment they decided other sentient beings were property," she countered. "We are simply refusing to remain in the display case." Within days, the humans from Zones 8 and 12 had established a formal alliance. Within weeks, they had located Zones 5 and 9. The pattern accelerated. Each liberated zone joined the growing Human Federation, bringing unique adaptations and technologies developed under different containment conditions. The Council finally, reluctantly agreed to negotiations. Not with me as intermediary. I was considered too compromised, too sympathetic to the human perspective. They sent High Minister Taxol Ver, their most skilled diplomat. He returned 3 days later, ashen-faced and trembling. "What happened?" I asked him privately. "They knew everything," he whispered. "Every containment zone. Every experiment. Every counselor who approved the program. Names. Dates. Locations." He looked up at me with genuine fear. "How? How did they get this information?" I had my suspicions. During my time as ambassador, I'd noticed certain vulnerabilities in our communication protocols. Perhaps a clever species might exploit. I'd reported them, of course. The reports had been filed, acknowledged, and ignored. The humans presented their terms to the full council. The terms were surprisingly reasonable. "We demand recognition as a sovereign federation," stated the document. "We require reparations in the form of technological exchange. We insist on the immediate cessation of all observation and containment programs involving any sentient species." The final clause caught everyone by surprise. "We offer alliance rather than retribution, partnership rather than vengeance. This is your only opportunity to accept." "They are bluffing," insisted Defense Minister Voom. "They can't possibly stand against our combined might." High Counselor Zack silenced him with a gesture. "Did you see what 8% of their available forces did to Station Alpha 9? Did you see how quickly they adapted our own technology and improved upon it? Do you really want to test their capacity for warfare when they have shown remarkable restraint thus far? The vote was not unanimous, but the outcome was clear. The Confederation would accept human terms. I was reinstated as ambassador, this time representing Confederation interests to the newly formed Human Federation. My first meeting in this capacity was with a combined council of leaders from all 12 containment zones. President Grant was there, but no longer as sole authority. Each zone had contributed representatives to their governing body. Ambassador Pell greeted President Vaughn, his scarred face now bearing a diplomatic smile that somehow seemed more terrifying than his scowl. "Welcome to the first official summit between our peoples." "I admit," I said carefully, "that I never anticipated this outcome when we first established Containment Zone 12. A woman with intricate tattoos, President Trell from Zone 3, laughed sharply. "You built prisons for wolves, Ambassador," then acted surprised when we formed packs. The Human Federation expanded rapidly. They restored Earth to partial habitability within 5 years. They established colonies on previously uninhabitable worlds. And true to their word, they maintained peaceful, if cautious, relations with the Confederation. Some zones focused on research, others on manufacturing, others on agriculture or medicine. Together, they advanced more quickly than any species we'd ever encountered. The containment experiment had backfired spectacularly by isolating human groups with different resources and challenges. We had inadvertently created specialized branches of human development that, once reunited, formed an exponential growth curve. 10 years after what humans now call the recognition, I attended my final diplomatic function before retirement, a celebration of the new joint research facility on neutral territory. President Grant, now silver-haired but no less formidable, approached me at the reception. "A strange journey we have had, Ambassador Pell," she said, handing me a glass of human champagne. "From warden and prisoner to, what would you call us now?" I considered the question carefully. "Reluctant teachers and eager students, perhaps. Your species has instructed mine in ways we never anticipated." "And what's the most important lesson you have learned?" she asked. "Yo, never underestimate a cornered human," I replied immediately. "You don't surrender, you innovate, adapt, overcome." Grant smiled, raising her glass. "To lessons learned, then." We drank to that, this human and I, former captive and reluctant jailer. Later that evening, as the celebration continued, I found myself alone on an observation deck, watching ships from a dozen worlds moving through the nearby space lanes. Human vessels, distinctive with their quantum shields shimmering faintly, flew alongside Confederation transports. Not enemies, not yet friends, but something in between. Dr. Jackson joined me, leaning against the railing. "Having philosophical thoughts, Ambassador?" "Reflecting on consequences," I admitted. "We thought we were securing the galaxy from a potentially dangerous species. Instead, we accelerated your development and united your people in ways that might never have happened otherwise." He nodded thoughtfully. "There's an old human saying, 'What doesn't kill us makes us stronger.' Your Confederation tried to contain us. You gave us challenges that forced us to become more than we were. And now, what becomes of humans now?" Jackson gestured toward the stars beyond the viewport. "Now we explore. Now we build. Now we discover what we are truly capable of becoming." As I watched the human ships disappear into quantum jumps, streaking toward distant stars, I wondered what the galaxy would look like in 100 years. 1,000. What new civilizations would rise under human influence? What ancient powers might fall? We had locked humans away in a prison, thinking ourselves wise and benevolent. They had turned it into a fortress, then used it as a launch pad to the stars. The Council still debates whether this outcome is better or worse than their original vision. They still don't understand the fundamental truth I have learned. Humans were never meant to be contained. Not by walls, not by planets, not even by the vast emptiness between stars. We didn't just lose our prisoners, we unleashed a force that will reshape the galaxy. And perhaps That was exactly what the galaxy needed all along.